if you are someone that is like, I want to get a new job this year, or maybe you're considering a career change, this is the conversation for you. Hello and welcome back to She Leads the Way. I'm your host, Nikki Bedford, and on today's episode, we are joined by Natalie Abumrad. She is the head of HR at Sanofi, and she has more than 20 years experience in human resources. She has a bachelor's in industrial psychology, and she also has 2 beautiful kids. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about how to stand out in this competitive job market. And so welcome to She Leads the Way, Natalie.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Nikki. It's very sweet of you.
You're welcome.
I'm happy to be seeing you again.
I'm happy to see you, actually. I saw Natalie the last time I was chairperson at the Women Leaders Summit, and you were an incredible speaker.
Oh, thank you.
So I thought, I've got to have her back.
Now I have to live up to that right now. Okay,
Yeah,
no pressure.
The pressure is on. Why don't we start with yourself? Give us a little bit of a background on you and your role at Sanofi.
Okay, so I have been in HR for 20 years now, longer than I can remember. It's something that I've always knew I wanted to do. As you said, I studied industrial psychology. So I've worked in different industries. I've worked across different geographies, primarily in the region. And for the past 13 years, I've been in pharmaceuticals, mainly working for global pharmaceutical companies. For the past year and a half, I've been with Sanofi, which has been an incredible journey so far, really enjoying it. My passion when it comes to HR, if I was to zero in, because while I'm a generalist, what I really am passionate about is talent management, diversity and inclusion. You know, you and I have spoken quite a bit about equity topics, which is something that I'm really passionate about. Apart from my day job, which is head of HR for Greater Gulf, I'm also leading the female employee resource group across Asia, Eurasia, and JPAC as well. I'm also the sponsor of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. So I'm very active in the diversity and inclusion space. On a personal level, you said it. I have a full-time second job, which is mom of 2 kids. My son is 3. My daughter is 2 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And I mean, it's definitely very busy at home and very busy at work, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it very much. I'm originally Lebanese, born in the U.S., lived there for 14 years of my life. And it's been about 10 years now. I've been living between Dubai and Lebanon.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
So you said that you knew very early on that you wanted to be in HR. I mean, you studied industrial psychology. What was it about HR initially that you were most attracted to?
You know, I started off studying psychology as general psychology.
Yes.
And at some point in my career, at some point in my studies, I wanted to be a clinical psychologist. And I still remember I had this really funny advisor at school. And he called me into his office one day and he's like, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, what is it? He's like, I don't see you as a clinical psychologist. I see you as an industrial psychologist. I don't think you have the patience to be a clinical psychologist. And I was like, really? What does that mean? And at first I was really taken aback by the feedback. But then I realized, you know what? He's right. I'm really impatient. And
Did you always consider yourself as impatient, or that was news to you?
To some extent, you know, I was still developing my self-awareness at that point in time. But I think he really helped me. And anyway, I was already showing a lot of interest. He saw that I was like naturally gravitating towards the industrial psychology topics. So he's like, why are you limiting yourself to clinical psychology? You really should focus on industrial psychology. So it was while I was in college, I made the decision that I'm going to pursue industrial psychology, and then I wanted to be in human resources. And I think human resources has always been interesting for me because it kind of blends business and people. And it is, you know, the HR isn't what it used to be, right? It's no longer perceived as a administrative function. It's very much a strategic function.
Yes.
And you get involved in very important decisions within the organization. And you get to take care of people and culture, which honestly, I couldn't ask for more. They're the 2 topics that I'm very passionate about.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So let's steer into the job market. So if you are someone that is like, I want to get a new job this year, or maybe you're considering a career change, this is the conversation for you. If I take a step back, if we think about the job market at the moment, it is so incredibly competitive, particularly in this region. So when people are looking to apply for jobs, you can see that, especially on LinkedIn, more than 1,000 people in some instances are applying for a job that has been posted less than 24 hours ago. And you think these poor people will not have a chance.
Basically, they can't interview 1,000 people.
No.
So you're right. It is. It's not everyone is going to get their chance.
So in terms of the skill set that you would look for, are there any specific skills that are paramount in helping people find a job?
I think more and more what companies are doing is they're not necessarily focusing on the short term, but looking more on the long term. So I think more and more companies are hiring for potential. They're not just looking to fill an immediate vacancy. They're looking for someone that can grow with the organization and potentially take on new roles. So I think showing the ability to learn new skills, learning agility is very important. Showing the ability to be flexible, curiosity is also really important.
Yeah.
Being passionate, because when you're passionate about what you do, you're naturally going to learn and evolve, is also, something that needs to be mentioned. And I think in the job market that we're seeing today, or let me say in companies that we're seeing today, you're rarely just working in silos. So your ability to work in matrix organizations where you're able to partner cross-functionally really well, and your ability to demonstrate that you're able to do that in the interview is going to be very important.
Yeah.
And there will be oftentimes questions that are built around that, really trying to dig down and understand if you have solid examples of when you've worked well across the organization, partnering with different functions, different teams, collaborated on a joint project. And so I think those are the skills that immediately come to mind. But also, I think we're seeing less of, I need someone to match this exact job description, and more of, I need a future leader. So yes, I'd like this person to do this job today, but I'd also like to see longevity and see if there's a potential for that person to do more in the future.
The skill set is around, well, are they collaborative? Would they work well with the team? But also, do they have great communication skills? I think that's always really important. But beyond all of it, soft skills are incredibly important, having a level of emotional intelligence.
Right.
These are skills that are not easily picked up if you're one of 1,000 people applying for a job.
100.
It's called API tracking, where they utilize AI.
Right.
So how would you go about ensuring that these qualities were picked up?
Definitely, I think it's important that you use keywords in your CV, because that might be picked up by the tracking system, because that's how the system filters, right? Out of, like you said, 1,000 applicants, how do we get down to a manageable number so then a human can then do a second level filtering, right? That's when you have your direct talent acquisition team or recruiters get involved and then further filter down the ones who are really a good fit. So I think definitely it's important to use keywords, but I think it's also important, I see like a lot of over creativity, over formatting in some CVs lately. And I think that it's very oftentimes the tracking system doesn't pick up and doesn't parse the CV properly. And so the CV can be lost in the system because of that. So I think it's also very important that you keep your CV neat, to the point, not 100 pages. I mean, I still see CVs that are incredibly long. And it's even worse sometimes when you see that they're incredibly long and the person's been working for 5 years and you're like, there's no way you have that much to say in your CV. Like, you need to keep it short and to the point.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you're going to lose the recruiter in the process if it's too long. If it's not easy to understand, if it doesn't highlight sort of maybe few top level high achievements, and really tell the story like in a few words about what the experience is that you had, what are some of your achievements, and just really be brief and to the point without over formatting and over complicating your CV.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on having a photo on the CV? On 3 separate occasions, I've had the first page, a full page of their face. And I just sort of think,
well, I don't know. I guess it depends what job you're applying for. I mean, I think if you're applying for something that is
Yeah, like
I don't know,
model. 100%. This was a corporate job.
Yeah, a corporate job.
And I just sort of think,
do not send a full size picture of your face. I mean, it's also, if you're applying for a corporate job, you really, if we're talking about equal opportunity employers, you shouldn't have to show your face. It shouldn't matter what you look like, right?
100%.
And so I would prefer not to put a picture. And especially sometimes you see these really these pictures of people with their heads tilted and they took a picture.
Or glamour shots.
Yeah,
and you think,
they took a picture on a night out and then they slapped it on their CV, and you're just kind of like, that also might make you question the judgment.
Definitely. You're putting additional parameters where other people can judge.
Right.
I had one where the person had a drink in their hand. Now, it could have been a non-alcoholic beverage.
Could have been.
But you're tainted.
That's where your head goes.
And you can't as someone that's hiring as well, you don't want to have this level of bias. But if you've got 1,000 applicants.
Right. Yeah.
It
shouldn't matter what you look like. So if you're putting a picture to show that you are presentable, I don't know. What is the purpose? I think you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of having a picture on there?
Yeah, exactly. So I think we'll say no to a picture.
I would say no to pictures.
No to pictures.
Yeah.
I want to talk about hiring for remote work. It was implemented first when COVID, so it's not a new realm. But the balance of working from home, working from the office, it's one thing being able to hire a team knowing that they're going to be coming into the office, but in a lot of cases, it's 100% working from home. How do you qualify whether someone is able to work from home? When COVID hit and I had my team, about 50% of the team thrived in working from home, 50% of them did not. And it was usually the sales team did not.
Yeah, because they're used to seeing people and interacting.
And then, the operations and account management team quite enjoyed getting things done behind closed doors.
Yeah. I think we all learned something new about ourselves during COVID and being locked up at home. I think most environments now, most corporates, I would say, have hybrid working environments. Make the most of both. And I think it's important that you find people who are able to make the most of both environments. For me, for example, I really enjoy the days that I get to work from home because I feel like I get to concentrate. Yeah. If I have a big presentation to prepare or, something that really requires some strategic planning or thinking, I kind of like to be in my own little quiet place. But then I really also make the most of the opportunities that I have in the office to collaborate and connect with people. So I think it's important that people are, I think flexibility is key when you're interviewing people and making sure you understand whether they're happy with that kind of flexible work environment and if they can thrive in that kind of work environment. And I think it's also important that you test or you're able to assess their ability to be very accountable and responsible individuals, because gone are the days where you're all sitting in one room and your manager's checking your work and seeing what time you came in and what time you left. And I can't think of many companies that do that right now. So it's really important that you are able to demonstrate, if you're a candidate, you're able to demonstrate your ability to be highly responsible, accountable, able to get your work done on time, whether you're doing it at night or during the day, you're meeting your deadlines, because there's no longer a 9-to-5 sort of work setup, right? And I think more and more companies are coming to that reality. And I think managers who previously were micromanaging may have struggled a bit, especially during COVID, and maybe even still struggling today. But it is our new reality, right? We manage by objectives. We don't know what you're doing all day, but at the end of the day, you want to know if the work's done or not. The other thing I would say about working remotely, just because you're working remotely doesn't mean you can't connect, right? So many companies now have internal chat systems where they can, you can chat with your colleagues. You obviously have...
Or do the party Zooms. Do you remember those?
Zooms. Oh my gosh. Yoga Zooms, coffee Zooms. We used to do all types of Zooms during COVID.
Oh, they were getting hammered at one point because we just wanted to make sure the connection and the good vibes were there.
People were getting very creative during COVID. bit too creative, I would say. But I think it's also important that candidates are able to demonstrate that they can stay connected even while they're at home. And there's many ways that you can do that.
Yeah.
You know, just because you're home doesn't mean you don't interact.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I also think as a manager, leading with that level of trust, you almost get more out of your team as well.
Yes.
Because they think, okay, well, I'm empowered to do this. I'm actually able to go to the gym in the middle of the day or pick up my kids from school a little earlier. And then knowing that there's that level of trust, there is that commitment in turn to fulfill their job. And I saw a massive uptick when it came to sort of, okay, well, as long as things are done on time and correctly, then we're in a good position to keep going in this way.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I mean, I think that it goes back to and why were people hesitant to come back to work after COVID? Is because COVID opened their eyes to a whole new world where they can drop their kids at school, do the laundry in between their calls, cook up a quick meal, before they finish the presentation that they're preparing. So it created a whole other level of well-being and balance in people's lives that they were so scared to give it up when COVID was over. Well, not that it's over, but when they were coming back to the workplace. So that's why most, if not all, companies nowadays are warming up to the idea of hybrid working. So some days you'll come to the office and the focus is really on collaboration, and some days you work from home, and that's really up to you.
I love that because I also think that the best outcome is getting the most out of your team, and people are productive in different ways.
Absolutely.
I'm a morning person. I love waking up, working out early, and then I'm the smartest in the morning. If you want to get me in a smart area first thing in the morning and I'm alive and I'm thriving. There are some people that prefer to wake up a little later, but then they'll be going a little longer. So as long as people are present within team meetings, that's nice to be able to adjust to the best way that people like to work.
Agree.
So I'm going to ask now, what are the 3 things?
3? Oh, hard. Okay.
I know I always lead with 3. Okay, well, you can, whatever. If there's one, what do you think that people need to do, or what is one thing that people need to do in order to stand out to find a job in this job market? Like, what's really important?
I think what's really important is everyone has a story, right? What value do you bring to the company, to the role? Why should we hire you? I think you should be able to answer that question, right? What is it that makes you unique in terms of whether it's experience, your education, even your background? Could be that you're a very worldly person. You understand different cultures. You understand different markets. It's very important that you're able to articulate your story and why people should hire you. So I think you should know that, first of all. Second of all, I think it's very important that you do your research about the company you're applying for, really. And there's nothing worse than applying for a job and not knowing what the industry is, not knowing, why you're even there. So just really doing your research and as we said before, also doing your research about the values and the behaviors so you're able to speak to them in the interview. The third thing I would say is, like everything in life, opportunities rarely land on your lap, right? So don't be passive. If you're really in the job market, we can debate about this whole open to work. I know on LinkedIn, some people put open to work. I'm a little, I don't love it personally. But what I'm trying to say is put yourself out there in a sense that you network.
Yes.
You meet new people and hopefully people, and maybe target people that are working in the industry that you're targeting or trying to work in. You are regularly checking job postings, I think there's something to be said about you don't want to over apply or over put your CV in hundreds of places because then you're kind of diluting the value of it. But I think it's also very important that you don't wait for the opportunity to knock on your door because it rarely happens that way. Okay.
You're not just going to wake up with a letter under your door.
It's like Prince Charming. He doesn't just come to your house. No, you have to go out and meet him.
Get out of that bed, find him.
And so I'm specifically speaking about if you're new in your career, just starting out, maybe with time over experience, if you become someone who has a name or reputation in the market, it might be different, right?
Yes.
Headhunters will seek you out. People, would know your name because of, you might have established a name for yourself in the market. People know you as someone who's very credible and very strong at what you do. But I'm really talking about the junior sort of entry level roles. It's important for you to put yourself out there.
Yeah, if I was to add to that, the 3 points that I would have. So one for me is also networking. I feel that networking is such a massive, massive part of it. And you should be networking with everyone. So within your internal circle, I know that when I was hiring and if I had someone refer someone to me, I would meet them for the role. So if there are people that you know and you know what industry you want to work with, then make sure that you go to these networking events or figure out what the companies are doing and be in the places that the people where they're spending most of their time. Move your way into those circles so that you can start influencing them, and then you'll start knowing the people that you should be knowing 100%. And then next minute you have these opportunities.
It also helps, sorry, if I can just add to that. Let's say you actually manage to land an interview in the company that you've been wanting to work for, and because of your great networking skills, you've managed to meet people who already work there. That is a great opportunity for you to get some tips from people who work in the company about, what is it they're looking for? What does good look like at this company? What are the behaviors or leadership skills that they value most? I mean, that's a great opportunity for you to leverage that information so that you also come across stronger in the interview.
Definitely. The second point for me would be personal branding. I think it's never been more important to have a solid personal brand. So this, for everyone, at the bare minimum, is an updated LinkedIn so people know what you've been doing, what you're doing now, what you're passionate about, what are you a thought leader in? If you're only fairly new to the job market, just ensuring that your bio and everything is all up to date. Secondary to that, always looking at your social media accounts. So making sure that they're representative of who you are and where you're going. Personal branding is just so incredibly important. If you have a topic that you're really interested in, start writing about it on LinkedIn or across your social media pages. This will help you stand out against the crowd or against the competitors because people will look there. And the third one is passion and enthusiasm as a soft skill. So having that emotional intelligence.
You can't take away from the impact of passion in an interview. I think something has to be said about it because it really lands very impactfully. If you're able to articulate your passion and how you'll bring that passion to the workplace and to your daily job, I think that really it goes a long way.
And it's not only
it's a saying, sorry. It's, I've said this quite a few times, particularly with junior candidates, is, what they lack in experience, they make up for in passion. And a lot of times, I say passion or enthusiasm, but a lot of times for me, I'm willing to forego that person doesn't have the right experience if they are able to demonstrate a high level of passion or energy or enthusiasm. I think that goes a long way.
When you know that someone's passionate about learning, those are skills that can be taught. Right. But if you're,
higher talent, trained skill. That's what they say sometimes.
Higher talent, trained skill, 100%. So there are so many instances. I mean, I've always believed this because when I started my career, I never had any experience, but I was so hungry and I just wanted it and I was passionate and I knew how determined I was to progress within the role. So I was always looking for that in candidates as well. So I know that you're going to be excited to talk about this because this is something that we've spoken about and it's a big part of what you do, and that's diversity and inclusion. Before we move into it, did you want to talk about what the areas that you're working within that realm at the moment?
Diversity,
a little bit more?
inclusion.
And equity.
Wow. Where do I start?
Well, wherever you'd like to take it, because I I know that this is a big part of what we discussed at the
Yeah.
Women Leaders Summit. It's a big passion point of yours as well. And it's incredibly important, especially as people look for jobs, that companies are taking this seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it's taking it seriously. I can tell you at Sanofi, it's now part of our business strategy, our people strategy. It's ingrained in everything that we do in all parts of our organization. It's becoming part of our, the way we operate, our natural way of operating. We believe in it. We believe in the impact of diversity and inclusion. We have lots of programs to build awareness. We have programs that are aimed to give underrepresented communities the opportunity to grow and reach their full potential within the organization. If for no other reason you're passionate about diversity and inclusion, you should be passionate about it, because forget about everything else. It makes business sense. I mean, if you were to take away all the other reasons why you should be excited about it, you should get excited just because research shows that companies that do diversity and inclusion right outperform companies that don't. And so it's really important that companies embed this in the way that they work. We believe that with diversity comes value, in a sense that you get a diversity of thoughts, of opinions, of ideas, of innovation, and you're going to ultimately have a bigger impact. If you look at, for example, the pharmaceutical industry, the patients that we serve are diverse. We have patients all over the world. So our team should reflect the diversity of our patients, right? And so it's so central to what we do. And we have a lot of great programs at Sanofi that are aimed at promoting diversity and inclusion. We're very happy, for example, that we've launched our gender-neutral parental leave, which I told you in the region. We were one of the first in the region to introduce a 14-week gender-neutral parental leave. So now men and women can benefit from this program. We also are working towards 50% gender parity or gender equity for our senior leadership and executive roles. And we're getting very close to reaching that, even ahead of time. It's just something that I've always been extremely passionate about, even more so when I myself became a mother, a working mom. I realized that women often, we tend to doubt ourselves more. First of all, we have more on our plate. If you think about the work that you have at home, they say it's like having a second or third job when you have children in a house and a household to take care of. First, to recognize, yes, that we have more on our plate, but also to recognize that women tend to doubt themselves more. We have more self-limiting beliefs. And so how do women, there was a recent study in Forbes where they said that I think it was around 75% of female executives experience imposter syndrome. And I guess this is a US statistic, but it happens everywhere. Women experience imposter syndrome more than men do. And so how do we help them to really limit those doubtful thoughts about their own abilities, their own capabilities, and help them to reach their full potential? That's a question we keep asking ourselves. We have a lot of programs aimed at, enhancing or empowering them, but it's still, I can tell you, a work in progress.
It is such a big question, though, because why is it the case that women doubt ourselves so much when we are so incredible, capable?
I don't know.
It is a question that I think, well, it doesn't have an answer at the moment.
No, it doesn't. I don't know why it is, but we need more. We need to support each other. We need to uplift each other. We need to empower each other. And so through these women groups, like the one I mentioned to you, which is the Female Employee Resource Group, it's a forum where we can connect and talk about issues and topics like this. And you can be vulnerable and you can talk about your own experience and maybe hopefully inspire other people to do the same.
You must feel really proud to work somewhere that puts so much value on this topic.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So tell me, what makes you so passionate about this?
So I actually shared this story at the Women's Summit where we met last time. You know, I always was passionate about it, but one of the experiences I had made me even more passionate about it and also made me very excited to be part of Sanofi. So I was, when Sanofi contacted me for this opportunity to work for them, I was pregnant with my second child and I was about to deliver my second child and I was going to have 2 babies under 2. And
Oh my gosh.
And I still remember when they contacted me, I said, you don't want me. Like, this is not the right time.
Natalie.
Yeah. I mean, I was like really pushing them away. And I remember thinking to myself, I can't do this. There's no way I can have 2 kids under 2, start a new career at a new company. And really, you know, when you start in a new company, you really want to prove yourself.
You're like, you've got the wrong girl, please.
So, I mean, I actually pushed them away or attempted to push them away. And I was so, at that point in time, because I was doubting myself so much, I was amazed by their reaction when they just said, we don't care. We want to support you. Can you at least just come for an interview and
stop playing hard to get?
And I still remember that moment. And I went through the rounds, I went through the interviews, and I kept expecting them. I wholeheartedly expected them at some point to say, yeah, this might not be a right fit. I remember at some point telling them, you're not going to get the best version of me. I'm going to be tired. I'm going to have too much on my plate. And for a company that didn't know me yet, I'm surprised I didn't put them off, first of all.
Sanofi. Go Sanofi.
And I still remember interviewing with the hiring manager as well as the GMs, and all of them were like, you know, we're all parents. We've been there before. We know it's hard in the beginning. We're going to support you. We have flexible work arrangements, you know, so if there are days you need to be home, it's fine. Work from home. And I remember just appreciating that so much. And it made me even more excited. And 1, it made me more excited to join Sanofi, but 2, going through that experience made me realize that women oftentimes really need that extra bit of support.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we need
and
someone,
the reassurance.
We need a support system. Whether it's at home, ideally it would be at home and at work, where people are rooting you on. They're supporting you through tough times.
Yes.
And so it made me realize, it made me more passionate about this topic, and it made me want to share this experience because I've had highs and lows in my career, but the fact that Sanofi took a bet on me and showed so much support without even knowing me, without even knowing what I had to contribute to the organization, I think for me, it gained a lot my trust and my loyalty to the organization. So I think that is one of my most recent learning opportunities where I was just, I said to myself, okay, now that I know this and now that I've been through this experience, I want to help other women.
Yeah, definitely.
Do the same.
They were seeing what you couldn't see.
Yeah.
And which was that you were incredible, you were perfect for the role. So why is it, we go back to the question we were asking ourselves before, why can't we see it?
I don't know if it's, you know, we were also having this conversation when it comes to taking risks. Women take less risks than men do.
Yeah.
You're not the right example for that.
No.
But women take less risks. Yeah. You're not a good example. It's okay. We all aspire to be Nikki, but we can't all be Nikki, right? So women take less risks. Women generally will apply for less roles. Like when they apply for roles, they want to make sure they tick all the boxes.
Yeah.
They're not risk takers, and they're not confident oftentimes in their own abilities. Obviously, I'm generalizing, but I mean, on average, we're seeing that more in women than we see in men.
Yeah.
So how do we change that? Well, first of all, I think it's having a support system really helps, and having podcasts like She Leads the Way.
Yes.
Yeah. That helps too.
And I think just talking about it more so that we can start realizing like we need to be putting ourselves forward. And that's something that I've always been very passionate about, is putting yourself first.
Right. And being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because also, I mean, I think it's important that you're relatable to other women who are feeling this too. You know, sometimes people see a powerful woman in a suit and they're like, wow, how is she so, you know?
Yeah.
No, she probably went through all of the self-doubting that you're going through.
She probably still is. And that's
She
her
probably still
shield.
is.
She's shielding herself through.
Yeah. And so just making sure that, you know, everyone knows that we've all been there and we want to support each other.
Yeah.
And it's really important that we do.
Very important that we do. So the last question,
Okay.
and I don't want it to be the last question. I'm having such a great chat.
Yeah.
But the last question is, what is the best piece of career advice you've ever been given?
I would say the best advice that I've received in my career, not to be fixated on one path to success. I think that very oftentimes, especially when we're young, we're ambitious, we're hungry, we're eager, you know, when we're first starting out in our careers, we have a very ideal view of what success looks like. And it looks very linear. And sometimes it's in the exact company we want to work for and in the exact, you know, job that we're applying for. I think the best advice I've received is to keep an open mind, because sometimes your career will take you in different directions, into different fields, different companies, different opportunities. And you really need to keep an open mind, because oftentimes it's better than even what you had in mind to begin with. And if you stay fixated on only what you want and what was your original thought or original idea of what your career would look like, you're going to miss out.
Yeah.
And you will lose ultimately in getting the best of that career journey and career experience. So I would say keep an open mind, particularly if you're a young person starting out. I know you probably already have thought about what you want to do, but through your networking, through meeting people, it may turn out that you will find something completely different than what you had in mind, and you might actually love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is such fantastic advice. I agree with that as well. When you keep an open mind and you start doing the things that you love, you'll end up being brought on a journey that will give you something that you could never have dreamed of.
Yeah.
So, I completely agree
I would
with
say
that. Natalie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Nikki.
It's been so nice to have you in here.
It's always such a pleasure to see you. And you're going to have to invite me again for another topic.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. We'll have a series. Nick and Nat.
And then you can talk about your personal experience.
Oh, yes.
And then we can cry together.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Maybe we should do that.
I'll cry about other things.
Yeah, we can just we'll have a tissue box here.
Tissue box.
We'll call
wine.
it Nick and Nat. Yeah, with some
Nick
wine.
And Nat. I like that.
Something is getting birthed as we speak.
Thanks
awesome.
a lot.
Wonderful.
That's great.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Natalie.
you.
All right,
Should I
bye.
move this?
Yeah.